Hello, good morning, my class 9 student. How are you? I hope you all are doing well. This is your Q&A session, that question and answer session, your questions and my answers. So I am here for clarifying your doubts. So before going to clarify your doubts, I just wanted to tell you that in the previous video lesson, I have asked one question to you, that what type of germination you have found, according to you, what type of germination is there in wheat, okay, after watching the last seconds of the video. And you know what? Some of you have given me responses, and those who have given me responses, all of your responses are correct. 100% you all are right. That is hypogeal germination. And for that, I'm really glad. A big thumbs up for you. So let us start the question answer session with positivity. Okay, so the first question is hypogamy if a structural barrier is present. Do you remember what is hypogamy? Hypogamy is what? That it is a type of structural barrier which is developed on stigma or the anther, so that they will avoid self pollination, and they favor cross pollination. Okay, so yeah, the hypogamy is for cross pollination. So what is the question of student? That how flowers will get pollinated considering the agents to be wind or water. If it is not so sure that maybe that wind or maybe water or maybe insects. It depends on that circumstances, that what is responsible. We cannot say that only wind is responsible. We cannot say only water is responsible. Okay, if it is about wind pollinated flowers, so because they are light in weight, so yes, that time we can say they come under the category of anemophily. But in such cases, we can say that hypogamy is there. So insects are most favorable, most favorite agents for pollination. Okay, so let me give you an example. It's like a pansy flower in which the over the stigma, a wooden hood-like structure develops, which does not allow its own pollen grain, that the stem in its own pollen grain discharge onto the stigma. Okay, then in such case, the stigma, that the wooden structure is broken by insects, and that's how it helps in the pollination. Okay, so it is broken by the insect, and maybe that insect carries same type of pollen grain from another flower, okay, of the same species. Then the mode of pollination can be occurred or fulfilled. Then next, if a flower is a rare type, if a flower is a rare type, then how will the flower know? Flower know? Okay, whatever it is. So then it can adapt itself for self pollination and remove any kind of structural barrier to avoid cross pollination. Okay. Hmm. So in such condition, that if a flower is or flower, or we can say that the plant is a rare species. So rare species plant, so that's why it is called rare, because there are different factors which make the flower which make the plant rare species. Maybe that their geographical condition, maybe that environmental condition, or maybe that there is lacking of dispersal agents. Maybe that maybe that or that wind, or like insects. Okay, so or maybe that they have hypogamy like structure. So if it is so, then it is very difficult for the ovary to get its gametes, okay, or to for the stigma to get its pollen grain. So it depends on the fit of the flower, that if they get it, then the pollination is fulfilled, and if it is not, then there is no pollination, no fertilization, and if no fertilization, then no fruit and seeds development, and if it is no, then the next generation will maybe that not produce. Okay, but this is not about one flower, it is about different flowers in the same plant. So maybe one of the flower gets pollinated by insects, and maybe it is not. Okay, so it depends on, again I can say that it also depends on the circumstances, it depends on the fate of the plant or the flower. neuter flower, one type of flower come under the category of staminate. Staminate, it means that male gametes are there or male parts are there. And pistillate, it means pistils are present, female parts are there. But another category is that neuter flower. Neuter flower, it means that which does not have stamen and pistil. It means male and female parts are not there. And if it is not so, then it is called neuter flower. So neuter flower are what? That what is the role of it? So its role can be protective to staminate and pistillate, okay, or it can help in the to attract insects. Like, let me give you an example here. I have a picture of it. This is a that sunflower, and it has two types of florets. Okay, it means that the flower, the one is called ray florets. You can see here this one, ray florets. So this is a ray floret, this one, and this is disc floret. Okay, the second one. So these are the small structure. These are called disc florets, and these are called ray florets. So ray florets are actually called as neuter flower, and if it does not have that male and female parts, but they help in attracting insects because they are so many in number and have bright color, so which helps in attracting insects. So this is the role of neuter flower. Then term used for few sepals and petals. So I remember that I have given this answer, even I have explained in very first video of mine, in which that the flower color is purple color and that green, okay, whatever it is. So this term used for sepals and petals, when they are unable to differentiate, then the term is called perianth. Okay, so when the sepals and petals are not differentiate from each other, then it is called perianth, and single unit of perianth is called tepal. Just like single that single I can say that a unit of calyx is called sepals, a unit of corolla is called petals. Similarly, a unit of perianth is called tepals. Okay, so I think you know, now you got your answer. Q&A 5. Yes. So question 5, if parthenocarpic fruits are formed without fertilization, then how the endosperm tissue develops in which can keep a seed dormant by providing it nutrition. So actually that the parthenocarpic fruits, as you know, that it formed without fertilization. Okay, because of that, some hormones like auxins, gibberellins, which are induced or sprayed on the flowers, and then that's how they that the ovary develops fruits. Okay, but in such condition, the seeds which are produced, these are less viable, or we can say that non-viable seeds, or we can say that they are seedless. So if they are seedless, then there is no question of seed dormancy, and less viable, then also that the seeds are not useful. Okay, but what about endosperm? So parthenocarpic fruits are actually devoid of endosperm and embryo. Okay, so the endosperm is not there, but in some of the parthenocarpic fruits they have endosperm, and this endosperm is nutritive in nature. How this endosperm is formed? The process you know it. Okay, but generally the parthenocarpic fruits are devoid. It means they do not have endosperm and embryo generally. Okay. Then next question, role of tube nucleus. So tube nucleus, do you remember what is it? Where it is present? Tube nucleus is that after pollination, that the pollen tube is formed. Okay, and this pollen tube has two types of nucleus. The first one is called. Do you remember what is that? The first one is called generative nucleus, and the second one is called tube nucleus. I think I have a picture. Yeah. So here you can see that the pollen tube develops here. Okay, it develops and it elongates, and it is gonna reach to the embryo cell. Okay, so here in the second one it reaches. So it carries two types of nucleus. One is generative nucleus, and the second one is called tube nucleus. Now the question of your is that what is the role of tube nucleus? So tube nucleus actually helps in the growth of pollen tube. Okay, here that you can see that the pollen tube is smaller, but now it's gonna larger. Okay, so it helps or it controls the growth of tube nucleus and also helps in ligating or breaking the embryo sac by going into the micropyle and then breaking the embryo sac to reach to the inner part of the embryo sac. Okay, so this is the role of tube nucleus. The next question is role of synergids and what happens to them after fertilization. Okay, so here the same. The synergids are what? That here you can see this is embryo sac. This is embryo sac. Okay, and these are two polar nuclei. This is egg cell, and these two are synergids. The question is about that what these synergids do. So synergids are protective to egg cell, and also that they guide the pollen tube to move in the embryo sac. Okay, and when they meet with the pollen tube, then it helps in the cessation of pollen tube. It means now the pollen tube cannot grow further into this embryo sac. Now the role of that pollen tube is over. So it also guides that the further development of pollen tube will not takes place. Okay, it causes cessation of pollen tube, and also after that synergids also gets degenerated. So what is the role of it? It helps to guide the pollen tube, okay, so that the generative nucleus, it means that the two sperm gets meet to their egg cells and the polar nuclei, and also that helps in the cessation, and after that the synergids gets degenerated. Now the next question is role of perisperm and nucellus. So what their roles are? So do you remember perisperm? I told you that keep reminding the perisperm. So this is embryo. Okay, this is what this is mature ovule, and this is embryo. Okay, and this embryo result of double fusion, and it is the result of triple fusion. Okay, and above it sometimes there is perisperm also, and both are nutritive in function. Okay, that they are it also provides nutrition, and it also provides nutrition to the embryo. And so question is what? The role of perisperm. Yes, it is nutritive in function. And another one is nucellus. So nucellus is what? That multi-layered body of ovule is called nucellus. Here it is not mentioned, but that I can say. This multi-layered body of ovule, that is called nucellus, which is protected by integuments. So integuments are there which protects the nucellus. So let me tell you that this is embryo sac, and above it this is called nucellus, and these are protected by this integuments. You can see this. Okay. So about nucellus, I now want to tell you one more thing, that nucellus is also that we can say it supports the embryo sac. It is protective to embryo sac. Now the next question, which provides food to the seed, cotyledons or endosperm? So answer is very clear. It depends on the type of the seed. If it is endospermic seeds or albuminous seeds, then the endosperm is there, which develops more and more, and that provides nourishment to the germinating embryo. And if it is about X-albuminous seeds or non-endospermic seeds or cotyledonous seeds, then cotyledons develop more, and endosperm is used up in the early growing stages. Okay, and that's how it is used up, and this cotyledons develop more because something which is needed by the germinating embryo, and that is cotyledon. Okay, which provides nourishment to the developing uh, seed. Okay, or the germinating seeds. The next question is, if endosperm is formed by triple fusion, how are cotyledons formed? They are formed by double fusion. Okay, endosperm is formed by triple fusion and cotyledon is formed by double fusion, and both are having like same function, that provide nutrition to the developing embryo. Then, do dicot seeds have endosperm? Dicot seeds, that's like monocot seeds, are mostly endospermic in nature, and dicot seeds are, they are non-endospermic in nature. But exceptions are always there in science and biology. So here, that yes, dicot seeds, and even I have given example. I've shown you picture also. I have been shown that germination also. So yes, in some of them that the endosperm is present, which is and which is not used up in early stages, and that's why dicot seed, the dicots have endosperm, and sometimes this endosperm, I can say that it is fused with the cotyledon, and it is not easy to get separated. Okay. The next question is germination in rice. So what type of germination is in rice? The same germination which you have given example, which you have given answer in my Google form. Here you can see this picture, stages of rice, and now you are seeing this growing structure. Okay, so what that growing structure is, this part, what is it? Okay, and if you know it, then you may give answer for it. Okay, what is it? Which type of germination it is? Hmm? It is hypogeal germination. So as like wheat is also hypogeal. Now the last four questions. How does hypocotyle generate such a force to lift the seed above the ground? This is very good question. That how does hypocotyle generate such a force to lift the seed above the ground? Yes, how it is so? So I think you have seen this pic. And when the seed swells up water, then it increases, it swells up, and after that, radicle is the first thing or first structure that comes out. Okay, but along with it, hypocotyle is also there. So you can see this hypocotyle part, and this is the radicle part. So radicle emerges out, and hypocotyle also, and this hypocotyle is in the stage of development. So this hypocotyle develops more, and the seeds which was primitively in more lower in the grounds, in the ground, I can say more deeper in the ground, but after that the seeds somehow its position is that it becomes less deeper, and as soon as the hypocotyle develops more, it forms an arc-like or loop-like structure. Okay, and this loop-like structure generates sufficient force to keep the seeds or to make the seed to come up on the ground. And when it develops more, elongates more, and becomes straightens, so that sufficient force is generated to lift the seed above the ground. So it's because of that elongation of hypocotyle that which makes the seed along with its cotyledon to come up on the ground. And such type of germination, that's why such type of germination is called, what called? Because that the cotyledon comes up on the ground. So it is called, do you know it? It is apigeal germination. Next question. Permeable means allow or not allow. I think this is related to chapter 1. So permeable, it means that cell permeability, I think you are talking about. So permeable, yes, it means that the molecules or ions are allowed into the cell, that they can move into the cell. Okay. So cell membrane are actually semi-permeable. It means it allows selective substance to enter. And cell wall are permeable. It means that they allow substance to enter into. Okay. Cell wall are actually permeable in nature. And next question is, what is living cell wall or plasma membrane? So cell wall is non-living component of the cell, and plasma membrane are the living component of the cell. And one more question I remember, I forget to add in it. Okay, what was that question? That what do you mean by steroids and lipids? That was the question. So steroids and lipids are actually, they have different functions. different functions they help in maintaining, like lipids help in maintaining temperature, steroids help in maintaining that salt water balance, and also that steroids produce steroid hormone which have its different function relating with fertility. Lipids also, that as I told you, that maintaining temperature and for that also help in that we can say that the storage of energy. Okay, so for there are, as it has different functions. Okay, and related with it, one more question was there, that how that what is the work of Golgi bodies related to endoplasmic reticulum. So endoplasmic reticulum, SER, especially the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, produce steroids and lipids, and this packaging of this, the products of ER, it means that lipids and steroids are condensed and packaged by Golgi bodies. Okay, so that work is done by Golgi body. Now all your questions are clear. This last one, this I feel interesting. Okay, so about unit test, actually you don't worry about. Okay, you just keep completing your copies and go through all the chapters. Okay, and till yet I don't have any information. And if it is about that unit test is gonna occur after some days or a month, then you will be informed priorly. You will give, you will have be you have been given sufficient time, okay, for preparation. So don't worry. I think your Q&A session, the today's Q&A session is over. I will again take another Q&A session, and in the next video, or along with this video, I'm going to give you some question answers. Let me check that how did you get these lessons. Okay, so okay, bye bye, take care.